Okay. On January, I think it was January 8th, 2009, my husband, my mother, and myself went to the Lake County Jail to bail out my son Christopher. The bail was $100,000. We met Kimberly Brown there from Lake County Bail Bonds. While we were there, my mother used her credit card to withdraw $1,000 down to pay Kim towards the bail. The bail was $10,000. Obviously, we had to go take out a loan on my home to get the other $9,000. So my mom filled out the paperwork and we bailed out my son that night. The next day, my father, my mother, myself, Chris, and my granddaughter Zoe went to Lakeport and we met Rob at a mortgage firm near Bruno's Market. Rob Brown. And he took my parents into another room and they signed a deed of trust on my property at 3747 Buckeye Street. At that point, my mom and I went to Bank of the West. My mom withdrew a loan for $10,000. I repaid my mom the $1,000, and I paid Rob the $9,000, and we were flush. The $10,000 had been paid to Mr. Brown. We went on with the court hearings, one after another. Mr. Talanian passed away, so there was an extended time that we had a lot of continuations. About a year and a half later, I got a phone call from Rob Brown. He asked me how things were going. I said, well, Mr. Talanian had passed away. We were actively trying to find another lawyer. It was going to be costly, so it was taking us some time. And he said, okay, fine, have a great day. And that was the end of our conversation. The trial went on about 2.5 years. After that phone call from Mr. Brown, I think it was probably a month later, I got a bill for a handwritten bill for $10,000. Another $10,000. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what the heck? We didn't agree to another $10,000. So during a day at court, I brought this up to my son's lawyer, Chris Andrian, and he said to my husband and I, you don't need to worry about that. He can't do that to you. Just don't even pay any attention to that. So we continued on with my son's case, which took, like I said, 2.5 years. Another year went by, another bill came, this time for $20,000. At that point, my son had been convicted, and we had hired Mitch Hopman to do the sentencing. We took this matter to Mitch Hopman, and he said, file bankruptcy. Your mom's going to be doing it anyway, just file bankruptcy, put it in the bankruptcy. So in May of 2012, my mom filed bankruptcy. I went to court with her. Susan Feeney was her attorney. I heard the judge mention the bail bondsman, the debt. The debt was dismissed in bankruptcy court in May of 2012. So later on that summer, my husband and I went to North Carolina to see my son get married. He's in the Marine Corps. We came back on a Sunday night, exhausted. The next day, my husband got up to go to work. He worked all day, pouring concrete. That night, he came home, ate dinner, went to bed early. I tucked my granddaughter in about 9 o'clock. About 9:15, I'm relaxing in the living room watching TV. I hear a knock on my door. I thought that was very unusual because no one visits me at 9 o'clock at night on a Monday. So I looked over at my oven clock and it said 9:15. I got up, I went to my front door, and I have a frosted window. It's not all frosted. There are clear pieces in it also. And I looked through it and I thought it was my neighbor. So I opened the door and I see an angry Rob Brown at my front door. I was more than shocked. And he was angry and he said my name, so I just shut the door. I went and woke my sleeping husband up. He was in his boxers. He threw his bathrobe on and his house shoes, and he went to the front door. And at that point, I think I'll let Bob take over because he then became Mr. Brown's.
Well, Rob Brown came, looked at me, and I asked him what he was doing there. He said he owns my house now. house that I've owned for 15 years or better. So I told him, no, I don't think you own my house, so you better just get off of my property. At this point, he was furiously mad. So then he throws the paperwork at me in my face. That's when I really determined that you just got to go. You got to get off my property. I don't know who you are. I don't know whether you're drunk, you know, coming to somebody's house this late at night, angry this way. He freaked me out. So I told him he had to leave. He told me that he wasn't going to leave. So I told my wife to call the police department and have the police come and make him leave. But he says, well, you don't have to do that. I've already done that. So he's telling me he's already called Mr. Clausen and told him he was coming over to my house to do whatever he was going to do to me. So when we called PD, they were already familiar with him coming over, apparently. And so once we called him and told Rob Brown that we called him and they were on their way, he decided to go ahead and get off of my property at that point. And so I looked at him and I said, well, now that the police are coming, you're going to get off my property. And then he looks at me and says, no, I'm not. And he comes and opens my gate and comes back right onto my property. And all of a sudden I noticed my dogs are starting to get out of the gate. And so I reached to grab the gate and stuck my foot in front of the gate so the dogs wouldn't get out. And then with my right hand, I reach over to grab him by his elbow to guide him out the gate. As soon as I touched him on the elbow, bam, 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 bam. That was like a green light to him to just beat the hell out of me. On my property, trespassing, 9:30 at night, I'm being beat up in my underwear by this crazy man. I call PD, the police department comes, they wouldn't arrest him. Then PD tells me at this point that they're going to arrest me too. If they have to arrest him, then they're going to arrest me. And I thought, well, I'm the one that is in my home being attacked. Why am I the one that has to go to jail here? Well, he couldn't give me that answer. You know, he's a supervisor. We're just little police officers. We pretty much do what we're told around here. And so then I called a friend of mine, and they said that absolutely don't insist that he be arrested. So I insisted that he be arrested. There was no arrest took place. And so I went to, you know, I was obviously hurt from being punched in the ribs 2 or 3 times and in the jaw. So I went to the hospital and took care of that and came back, and one thing led to another, and now here we are.
We have photographs of Bob's injuries, and the next day we were approached by a young couple that had moved in across the street from us, directly across the street. I would say, how many feet from our gate would you say?
65 feet.
Yeah, just right across. And we'd never met this couple. They were young. They just moved in. They had a baby. And he approached my husband the next day and tell them what
they looked at me and said, I said, hey, you guys didn't by chance. He says, yes, I did. We sat in our house and we watched the whole thing. He says, before he came up to your house, he parked in front and he was mad. He kept walking back and forth, prancing in front of his truck like a bulldog, mad is what he told me. Then all of a sudden he gets up and he busts through my gate, and my Labrador comes walking up to him. He comes down and he hits my Labrador on top of the head as hard as he could hit my dog. That's what the neighbor told me. The dog went yipping off. I was asleep. I didn't hear that part. So then he told me that he saw everything. So, you know, the police department said, well, it's your word against his word. Your wife's there. His wife's there. You know, they made it sound to like at the board meeting, like Rob Brown said it was self-defense. There was no self-defense. I was in my underwear. Nobody was looking to beat up Rob Brown.
He came to our house.
He came to my house in Clear Lake in the middle of the night. You know,
Prior to this, have you ever gotten any notices saying that he was taking possession of the house or any kind of notification from the bank or anywhere else? Because at this time you also had a loan on the house from Bank of the West, is that correct?
That's correct. It was for roughly, we owed about $56,000 on the house. In 2006, a large oak tree fell through our original home. Thank God we had full coverage insurance and we had a new home put in place. At that point in 2007, the insurance company wanted a handwritten contract and notarized between my parents and Bob and myself, because we purchased this house from my parents. And so we did that. We went and we typed up a contract, because it was verbal all the years we lived there until this happened. And but my dad kept record of every payment that was made on the house. And so we did that. We got the contract notarized and signed. That was in 2007. 2009, we had to go get this other loan for my son. I borrowed $30,000, another $30,000 on my house. I borrowed $30,000 the first time, and I borrowed another $30,000 the second time because I had to pay Rob Brown the $10,000 bail. I had to pay Mr. Talanian $15,000, and I paid Susan Feeney $5,000 to protect my granddaughter's rights to see my son. So,
And it was all through Bank of the West?
it was all through Bank of the West, and my mother and father took the loans out for us, but we made all the payments. Every payment was a check with my signature on it. And every dime that's been spent on that house, we've spent on it. It's our house. We bought it in 1998. We bought it from my parents.
And then it was a tree fell on it, and then it's
In 2006.
Now it's a brand new home. It's
Right.
appraised at $170,000,
At the time.
and now we're being evicted from our home over a bogus $20,000 bail that really never even existed.
You asked about notices. We got notices from his bond company, but they were not proper notices.
But were they notices that notified you that there was an extra $10,000 a year accruing during your son's waiting for his outcome on this trial?
Trying to think. That didn't start happening until the foreclosure threat started.
Was there anything in the original documentation that you signed that said there would be a $10,000 a year fee that you would have to pay if the case got dragged out over so
No.
many years?
I never signed anything.
Okay, so you never you never put your signature on the agreement between Rob Brown for the bond that was for your son?
No.
And
Neither
did
one of
you?
us.
Okay. So neither one of you, who actually are the legal owners of the home,
Yes.
had any signature or any kind of responsibility for the bond that was placed for your son. That was actually with your mother, is that correct?
Yes.
Jan? Okay.
Yes. My mother, Betty.
Your mother, Betty Welch,
Betty Welch.
took the responsibility of this bond on herself. No one else signed it besides her.
My father did.
Okay, and he's passed away.
Yes.
So, how did then the ownership of your house get involved in this document? That's one thing that we don't really understand.
I believe that my parents signed a deed of trust for collateral for the bail using my house.
With that house?
Yes.
If you guys were the owner and in purchasing it, could she really legally do that, though?
Well, we didn't know. We thought that
Mm-hmm.
she had to be the one to do it because the title was still in her name.
I see.
The bank-
So you were aware that she had signed the house?
Yes.
then?
Yes,
Okay,
and
so
the
it
bank
doesn't-
was aware that we were making the payments, and
Yes.
the loan was ours, and the home was ours.
Yes.
And Rob Brown and Kimberly Brown were also aware of the fact that I owned the home, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law still had it in their name.
Now, when Betty did her bankruptcy
Mm-hmm.
and the bonds loan or this outstanding amount was declared part of the bankruptcy,
Yes.
and there's paperwork that verifies that it was discharged in the bankruptcy,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so if it was discharged in the bankruptcy, then how did it come back on to you guys?
That we don't know. That we don't know.
Now, you've been to court about this.
Yes, he's evicting us out of our own house, and at this point, we have no
So
choice.
a judge
but to
ruled
move.
in his favor in spite of the fact that he has no evidence to show how he took ownership of the house.
Well, he has not been asked to prove how he took ownership yet.
Wasn't that one of the conditions of the case, though?
Uh,
Why they put everything in escrow was so that he could show
What-
his ownership?
What happened was we missed the summons. The summons, we were supposed to respond within 5 days, and we thought it was 10. And remember, we came and asked for help, and so the day when we saw you, we went home that day, and a sheriff came to our house and said, "You have 1 week to get out."
See, we were
So I called Susan immediately while the sheriff was still standing at the door, my attorney, Susan Feeney, and she immediately filed a motion for a stay of eviction. And we were going to appeal that, but according to our attorney's legal advice, the appeal wouldn't have worked because an appeal takes 3 judges. They couldn't get 3 judges together until just recently. And the appeal only looks for mistakes within the hearing, that particular hearing. So there were no mistakes made, so the appeal wasn't going to fly. So we had to literally just say, okay, we'll move out. You did it. But we actually tried to work with Mr. Brown. We said to him, okay, look, we'll pay you what you want. We'll keep paying the $800 a month payments. Just please don't make us move.
And what was his or his attorney's response to that?
He said he'd rather sell my house to someone else for $30,000 than to sell it back to me for $100,000.
Oh my goodness.
And I'd really like to know what it is I have ever done to this man for him to run me out of my legacy, pretty much, my inheritance,
we
during the holidays.
Do you think this is a vendetta based on the fact that when this incident first happened, you went on the sheriff's radio show and told your story publicly?
Oh,
Absolutely, his own lawyer said so.
Whose lawyer?
Rob Brown's lawyer said
And who is
it's
his
a
lawyer?
grudge. Stephen Brown.
His son.
Yes.
So he's basically saying, tough luck, I don't like you, so
Yeah.
I'm kicking you to the curb,
Exactly.
and you don't have any recourse.
and
at
Right.
this
we
point.
were never our bank was never, we were never foreclosed
Now,
on
what
by our
happened to the
bank.
loan? It disappeared?
Yeah.
Our $50,000 note just vanished from the bank. The bank don't know how it happened.
Yeah, they don't know.
They want in on this too. They want to know how it is that
They don't-
they just got took for $50,000.
I actually
Interesting.
called everyone I could at Bank of the West. I went all the way up to the foreclosure department. I spoke to a gentleman, his name is Timothy White. He said, I'll look into it for you. He called me back in a couple days and he says, well, you're being foreclosed on, but I don't understand how this could have happened.
No, your mom's house was being foreclosed on, not our house.
Well, the bond company was foreclosing.
But-
I can't even remember the name of that
If the
company.
foreclosure was on your mom's house, then how did it get switched over to
We
yours?
don't know.
We don't know.
Because the notes that were sent to her mother's house had her mother's address on them, not ours. So we were never.
But
Well, we were getting
you said
notices
that
with
she
our
had
addresses,
put
too.
your house as collateral,
Yes.
not her house.
Right. But my mom was filing for bankruptcy and her house
Mm-hmm.
was going into foreclosure. And they're
Right.
right next door to each other.
Right, but if she signed over your house to him, then that's the house he would have gone off
Of
after.
course, yes.
Yeah.
And I did find, curiously enough, a foreclosure notice stuck to my mom's gate from his bond company with her address on it. So the whole thing is crazy, in my opinion.
It's very convoluted.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
How he has the title in his name. I went up to the recorder's office. The little Oriental woman that works in there, she's been there forever. She says there's something fishy going on here. And she didn't know what was happening, but something's going on.
Well,
here.
doesn't his daughter also work in that department?
I don't.
I'm not
I've heard
sure
some
of
rumors
that.
to that
I'm not
effect.
really sure of
They
that.
go through that. They go through the courthouse with the card, and they go into any room they want.
I know he came to our house that night when he hit my dog and beat up Bob. And I called Susan the next morning and she went to the courthouse and it was still in my mom and dad's name. And then curiously within a week it was in Kim and Rob's name. And
And nothing in the paperwork shows any kind of legal transfer.
I haven't seen it. And Susan says
And they never supplied those documents when you went to trial.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, so what is your next step?
We're going to file a lawsuit. Our
A
attorney.
civil suit?
Yes, ma'am. Susan Feeney's our attorney. She has several causes of action against him. One of them illegal.
And when do you have to be out of the house?
On the January the 10th.
So he hit you right before Christmas,
Yes.
so that you would have a terrible Christmas. You're
Yes.
still looking for a place to go. Have not found a place yet.
And my wife is disabled, and we're raising our 10-year-old daughter because our
Granddaughter.
our granddaughter,
Yeah.
because our son ended up going to prison. So
Right.
we're raising her in a house that we thought was paid for, or we knew was paid for. You know, I'm 55 years old. It was kind of nice knowing that my home was paid for, and I could go into retirement with a paid-for home.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, over a bogus $20,000 bill, I'm homeless.
Nothing was ever said to us about annual premiums. Not one word. Not one.
And nothing in the contract stated
No.
anything relating to
There,
that.
there is one little the contract that was signed in the jail. My mom signed it. Says premiums are due and payable, in big black letters.
Not annual
There,
premiums.
but according to my attorney, an annual premium contract with a bail bondsman has to be openly discussed
Right.
and agreed upon, and that never happened. Never, ever, ever. He never mentioned it on the phone. She never mentioned it in the jail. Never. We weren't even given the opportunity to reject that and let my son be OR'd or worse, go back into custody. We were never given that option. He just simply
He-
billed us the
He
$10,000.
never took it back to Judge Hedstrom and said that the bail is going on longer than a year, so we either have to up the bail or pay him another year. That never took place. The bail was never raised. My son never missed a day at trial, never was late a minute. He went to prison, it was done. We have a paid in full from Lake County bail bondsman. See, this was all Lake County bail bondsman through Kimberly Brown. This wasn't no Rob Brown bail bonds. This was Kimberly. And Rob Brown just took it over like a bounty hunter. He even says in several articles how he was hunting me that night, and after he punched me out, the hunt was over. He hunted me down. You know, this is this Wyatt Earp mentality.
Yeah, you're really hard
got
to
to come to an end.
Find too in your bed.
Yeah, he's sound asleep. He just poured 40 yards of concrete. Plus, we were still tired from that trip to North Carolina, and I'm having to wake my poor husband up to be slapped around by a county supervisor. A county supervisor.
Acting as
Is
a
this how-
bounty hunter.
County supervisors treat their citizens? I don't get it.
Well, there's rumors also that he may have had something to drink and that you may have had something to drink.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
heard that the one policeman asked me if I'd had anything to drink because he said he smelt it, but I had not had anything to drink.
No.
I'd already been to bed, and I
Yeah.
didn't drink before I went to bed. So
Yeah, I had dinner,
If you smelled,
went to bed.
If he smelled alcohol, it wasn't on me.
And it wasn't on me, I don't drink.
He didn't know who he smelled.
I think he was just trying to say
Deflect
that.
it.
I don't know, because Bob came home very tired that night. He ate and went straight to bed. I mean, went straight to bed about 7:30. I mean, he crashed out. And then I put Zoe to bed about 9, and this traumatized my granddaughter.
Oh, sure.
She was so afraid I was going to make her come down here and talk. She's terrified.
What happened to the dog?
He died.
The dog had, from the day after he hit him in the head, had seizures every day.
And I have video of that.
Having to watch that dog go through those seizures for 30 days before he finally died. It was just the most terrible thing you ever seen.
He was a purebred Labrador. He was only 2 years old. He had papers.
They have a soft skull right where he was hit on top of the head.
I'm sure Shiloh just jogged up to greet him, and he was a Labrador, and Labradors are mouth dogs. Everything goes in their mouth, so he probably touched him with his muzzle, which is the way he greets people, and he just slammed him with his fist, according to Stephen Johnson. And I mean,
He was irate, threw the papers at me. He came there with an attitude. He come there to beat me up. He come there hunting me. He beat me up, the hunt was over, just like he said.
And he calls this self-defense.
And you have no, other than just the issue of the dispute over the bond, you've had no other contact with him and no other reason for him to feel any kind of animosity towards you guys?
None whatsoever. Bob actually, when the tree fell on our house, Rob's dad, Charlie, came over and cut up the wood.
Me and Charlie sat there and cut 10 cords of wood and hauled it over
And-
to Rob Brown's sister's house.
He worked
She
for...
bought it all.
Yeah. he
I
worked-
worked for Rob's sister for 20 years for Puerto Rico Plumbing.
Is there anything else that you want people watching this to know about you guys or about what's happened here?
I want everyone to know that Bob and I have lived here. Well, Bob's lived here his whole entire life, and I've been here since 1977. We've raised 5 beautiful kids here. There's no reason whatsoever that Mr. Brown should have any kind of animosity towards us. All we did was tell the truth. He came to our house at 9:15 at night with some kind of problem. He was angry, and it was obvious. He came to our house. We weren't the threat to him. He was threatening to us.
He makes it sound like we're people that don't pay our bills.
Yes.
That's not true. We've
And it's
been
not
here our
true.
whole life. He was paid in full. We never thought for a minute that we owed Rob Brown a dime.
Yeah. I was shocked when
I don't owe people money. I couldn't have lived in one city for 55 years and owe people money. I pay my bills.
the people of Clear Lake and Lake County, they know us. They know that we're not the bad guys here. They know that Bob and I have already been through the meat grinder. I mean, going through a trial like we did was not an easy task, and I lost my father right before that Chris went to prison. So, I mean,
When it comes to community service,
yeah,
20 years I coached Little League. 8 years I coached football, youth football. I was on the fire department for 6 years. Every day after work, coming home, volunteering my services in the fire department. I put $20,000 worth of plumbing and fixtures in the youth center. Me and a friend of mine jackhammered the floors, tore the plumbing out, put all new plumbing in, got the kids their youth center here in Clear Lake, and we feel like we've been nothing but upstanding citizens of the Clear Lake community. And the way we were treated by our PD and our supervisor is just, to me, unbelievable.
yeah. And that house...
So we're going to do what we have to do. We pushed into a corner. We have no other recourse than to take Mr. Brown to court.
Yes, and that house is not just a house to me. Like I said, I lost my father in 2011. And he wanted my husband and I to have that house as a security. I mentioned that earlier. And there's so many beautiful memories there I can't even begin to tell you. I brought both my babies home to that house. My wedding reception was at that house. My late brother barbecued 40 pounds of baby back ribs that day. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable this is happening. Unbelievable.
It couldn't happen anywhere else.
And-
Anybody I've ever
no.
told this story to said only in Lake County.
And
And
why us? We haven't done anything. All we tried to do was defend our child. That's all we tried to do. We did what any loving parents would do. We put everything we had into trying to protect our child. I never agreed to a yearly premium. My husband didn't agree to it. We didn't sign a deed of trust. That's our house. I have a notarized document that shows the contract we had between my father and mother and myself and my husband. So, I don't know how he's getting away with this. I just don't.
I have copies of the check where I paid for my house in cash. $108,000 check. I wrote the company. They brought the house out and put it up on my foundation. I spent $18,000 putting in retaining walls and getting my foundation all ready for this new modular to be set down in. And we get into our home and start just about to be comfortable, and boom, now
Yeah.
we're homeless.
And I do want to mention one thing. The lot where we have two big chain link gates that open up and you drive into the driveway and the house is here. Well, this driveway does not come with the house.
Okay, so when he takes possession of this, how are you going to reclaim that property?
We have to take him to court.
Yeah.
Because our deck is, his house is on my property.
Okay.
Yeah.
If in fact he does get the house,
Right.
I don't know how he could, but if in fact he does, then I gotta sue him for his house being on my lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's just like he doesn't care. He hates us so bad.
He doesn't
just
care.
does not care about anything.
Because we told him, Susan, our attorney, told his attorney about the lot being still belonging to us, and he said he didn't care. He did not care. Take me to court.
Well, I guess you'll have to do that.
I guess we'll have to do that.
Well, I'm sorry that this is how you're ending out your year of 2013. I
Thank
hope
you.
that 2014 brings you a lot better luck and a lot more blessings, and
Thank you.
that you get justice in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Well,
It's,
there's always justice.
All right.
I believe in
I believe
justice. You know, this is wrong. It's just wrong. You don't treat people this way, especially when you're a public figure. You know, you don't treat people this way, period, but you don't treat them this way if you're a public figure.
Right.
And if you ever expect to be reelected again. I mean, that's not how you treat people. We have done nothing to him, nothing. So,
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
thank you for letting us tell our story. Stuff. I mean, we're good, nice neighbors. We wave to each other and stuff, but we've never actually spoken until yesterday.
And you started.
Okay, so why don't you guys start from the beginning? Just give us your explanation of what you saw and what you
Well,
witnessed.
The
I'll tell
truck
you,
pulled up like he was mad.
Well, anyways, I heard a truck pull up that was not like. I heard a truck pull up, just had a feeling that something was gonna happen.
Hold on. Can we do the TV? They turned the TV back on.
Yes.
Sorry. No problem.
Joey, we're gonna have to turn the TV down because it's interfering with the videotape. Plus, I'll shut this window.
Yeah,
too,
that'll
Terry.
be perfect. That's fine. It just happens to shoot right into the microphone, so I don't want to miss
It was
anything.
about 2 nights ago. About 2 nights ago.
Yeah, it was 2
Tuesday
nights
evening.
ago.
Yeah, Tuesday evening, around 9:15. Yeah.
Dude,
9:30.
I can even tell you how the cop cars were parked on the hill.
Cool. Well, go ahead and start again from the very beginning, and speak up so we can hear everything
Did
good.
that help?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, it was Tuesday evening, about 2:15, 2:30 at night. I was in
Not
the
2:30
backyard.
at night. It was like
9:30
9
at night. It was about 9:15, 9:30 at night. I was in the backyard. I heard a strange truck roll up. I looked through my fence, seen that a strange truck was parked outside my neighbor's house. So I was kind of cautious, worried about what was going on. So I was being nosy. I looked outside.
I was
Just
already
watching
out the window.
I seen someone come outside. I seen a grown man come outside a truck, walk back and forth to his truck numerous times. He came up to the gate, punched a dog in the mouth, punched a dog in the throat. Heard a yelp. I heard a knocking on the door, and then about 2-3 minutes later, there was a bunch of people out front of the house, and a guy that came out of the truck punched the gentleman that lives here at this property, punched him in the twice in the sides and once in the neck, in the throat and the Adam's apple, and that's when the police were called. Police were here. There was 2 cops here. One was just driving by, so there was actually 3 called, and then after that, the cops were involved, and I didn't see nothing else after that.
You know, it's pretty much the same thing. I saw a truck pull up, and he was like, he did it fast, so it wasn't like coming to visit somebody and stuff. And he got out, and you heard the dog yelp, and then you hear Bob, and the lights out here were on and stuff like that, and
Yeah, you
it
could
looked
see
like
the whole
they were
thing.
like Bob was kind of walking out with him, and then it kind of, how would you say it, like shuffling around, like he was hitting him, and then I heard her and stuff, and he wouldn't get out of their property, and he was just being really mean, and the cop showed up.
Did you see the dog try to attack or
No.
intimidate the gentleman at all? The dog
No.
was just there.
No,
Did you
the dog was
see-
just there. The dog didn't even bark once. The dog did not
it
bark
barked.
once. Okay, it barked when you pulled up, but it did not like try to attack him at all.
Okay, there was no aggression.
No aggression. That's
Did you
what
see
it is.
any aggression on Bob's part in regard to trying to deal with Mr. Brown or at all? Or?
No, all
No,
he did
he
was
was
just
trying to walk
he was
out
just
with
trying
him
to
out
walk
of
him
his
off his
yard.
property, and that was it. And then he just
So you didn't see him try to throw a punch or anything
No.
or
Bob did
aggress
not-
on him?
No, Bob did
No.
not throw not one punch because Bob said call the police, and that's what happened.
And had you met these people before this incident?
No,
Not really. We've only lived in there for like 5 months, so we haven't really got the time to.
Yeah.
Did you see the police arrive?
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
we did.
What did the police do when they arrived?
They just showed up here like nothing happened. They just rolled up in here.
They were
and-
standing with the other guy.
Yeah, they were
in
standing
the
with
big
that other
white
guy
truck.
out front, talking, leaning up against the truck like they were best friends.
Were they,
Yeah.
Did you know who he was? The guy in the truck?
No.
Not until I was reading things on Facebook
Right.
today about it. I
How
didn't
long
know
were
who
they
he
standing
was.
out, the police officers, and
They were out there
For
for,
a
good
while.
half hour.
were they
40
joking and laughing,
minutes.
or were they having a serious conversation?
They were just
They
like
were, like-
leaning against the truck, like there was nothing going
Like
on
nothing,
really.
like they knew each other.
And then
I
another
swear. It was
cop-
like,
Yeah, that was when the other cop was already there, though. Because he was out there by himself for a minute. Because the cop came in here and was talking to Bob, I think, but I can't hear what they were saying.
No, but so one of the police officers was talking to
yeah,
you about
one
that
of the
too.
police officers
Mm-hmm.
did come over here and talk to us, Bob, and then
No one got handcuffed. No one was.
No.
Nothing
next
like
thing
that.
you knew, another police officer, about 10 minutes later, another police officer rolls up, and he was just sitting over here, and they were arguing or whatever. They
Okay,
were
who-
actually talking. They were just talking, leaning up against the truck, just like they were friends, like nothing happened. So that's what
I saw a
see.
lady in the road, but I didn't think she was with the guy in the white truck. She
How
looked
long
like
do
she
you
had
think
long dark
the
hair.
police officers were here for?
At least 40 minutes. 45
Okay, and then they
minutes.
just all
all
just
Yeah.
disappear, and that's
They
it.
just drove away.
And like,
So the other gentleman just went his way, and
Yeah.
Bob came back home, and that was it.
yeah, that's basically what happened. No one got arrested. No one did nothing.
And then
I mean,
everyone talks on Facebook.
and then-
it's a little town.
It's
Well, yes, yes.
That's how I found out about it.
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of
I
crazy.
didn't even know that he was who he was, really. I just thought somebody was coming over here to like be an asshole, really.
You didn't hear any yelling.
Well,
or
I guess he
verbal
was, wasn't he?
abuse?
He
Probably
was,
yelling.
and I told Mr. Brown.
Between them, I
I
heard
said,
yelling.
It's going to be on Facebook before you
That's
get to
what
the
I
corner.
heard.
Only yelling
And they
I
were
heard was
saying
probably from
because
her.
he
That was
assaulted your
it.
husband.
You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, women yell, so
Yeah.
they're gonna say something.
I said to Kim Brown, I said, what, is your Hummer not big enough?
Oh God, she drives a Hummer.
Yes.
They showed up in like a Chevy
I
Diesel,
lost
dude.
my beautiful
I knew
new
it was
truck
Duramax
because
engine.
all of this financial burden, I had to give up. I had a beautiful 2007 Avalanche, and I had to give it up.
Oh, those are nice.
I
We had
sold
one,
it.
and we had to give it up too.
I sold it so I wouldn't lose it,
Right.
and then I bought my Tahoe cash, but it's used. It's 2002, you know. But this whole thing has ruined my husband and I financially, starting with my son to this moment, has ruined us. And we are local, community involved people that raised our children here.
Yeah, I
You
grew
know.
up here too. Since
Yeah.
I was born, I've grown up here.
These two here know my children.
Yeah.
That, you know, went
We
to
all went
school
to
with my
school.
children. I don't understand it. How I could be treated this way. How we could be treated this way in our own community that we've loved for 50 years. My husband 50, me 30.
But I don't see why he can't be arrested and treated like everybody else. Because if I go to the park and say I'm yelling at somebody, then the cop's gonna show up and
Yeah,
want to
they're gonna
arrest
arrest me.
Yeah.
But they won't arrest somebody
but they
that
won't
physically
arrest-
hit somebody else and wants
Come
to
over
attack
here in their
somebody else
property,
because
straight trespassing, pretty much.
because
Straight
he's supposed to
trespassing,
be a
going here and
respected
punching in your
person
face.
in
Okay,
the
if someone did that to
community.
me, and punched
that's
me in
not
my
fair.
face, someone would be knocked out in front
I'm a
of the
nice
house.
person.
you
I
know?
don't get special
And I'd be
treatment.
going to jail for
Yeah.
battery
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and intent and
Well, Bob
all
was in
kinds
his
of shit.
bathrobe and slippers, so it was, you know.
Yeah, you guys
Somebody
were in
was
bed.
trying
It
to
was
say on
fucking
Facebook,
10:30,
like, why is
9:30 at
everybody
night.
Why is everybody
That's
going to
crazy,
bed so
dude.
early? Well,
I never-
everybody on this street works.
Works.
We all
Yes.
gotta work. We all got kids. We all gotta wake up early.
That's right. That is
So
right.
when you see another truck coming down the road, it's not like
You
you
know,
see it all the time.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Especially when it's a diesel engine, you're
I'm a
wondering what the
disabled
hell's really
person,
going on
too,
around here.
On top of that, and I have a disease that stress makes worse,
Mhm.
and it's starting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these are.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is all like, it's taking a very big toll on me and my family. And I thought that with my son doing his time was the end of it. I'd already suffered enough with the loss of my son, my father during all that. I went surgery, 3 surgeries during that whole criminal trial. And then I paid the man his money, and he's back for more. And now he wants my house.
Well, he has no right just to show up at someone's house that really he don't even own.
I can't understand it. I
That's
just can't.
bullshit.
And even if he did, this debt was real, he had no right to come here at 9:15 at night and start a
Even
fight
says
with my
right
husband.
As the
He just tried
documents.
to talk about it calmly.
At a decent time, it
He-
says it right in his own document.
Right.
He came over
right.
here trying to start something.
Yes,
He
he
was
did.
doing-
To come over
thinking
here
he was
and
a
do it,
badass,
Like,
and-
come on,
Yes.
if I want to go do something, okay, I'm gonna go over
Exactly.
here and punch this guy in his face. Okay, well that guy's gonna call the cops. I'm gonna go to jail. Well,
No.
why did
Yeah.
he go to jail?
And that's what the police said to my husband. Well, if you press charges, he's going to press charges, and then you're both going to go to jail.
Yeah, so they use it
So
in
they try to
intimidation
discourage
against
you
him.
from pressing charges.
Yes.
And then I don't know
Bob
how
didn't
it
do nothing wrong.
I know. Well, and somehow I must have pocket dialed my sister-in-law and brother-in-law,
Yeah.
and they showed up. They showed up here. Dave and Belinda, Rob's brother Dave and his wife Belinda, and my niece
Yeah, someone
Brianna,
else did
and
show
her
up.
boyfriend
I saw it.
Sam,
I
and
remember seeing
and
it
my
after all
brother-in-law
that
Rick.
meeting.
They all show up, and the police weren't going to let my brother-in-law Dave in, and Dave said, "That's my brother's house. I'm." And then he looked at Rob Brown and said, "You need to go to jail, and we want him arrested." And clearly, police did nothing. Handed
Did
a
they
card.
respond?
No. They did nothing. They handed Bob a card and said, "Here's the DA's office. Call him." And the DA already, they prosecuted my son last year. So what do you think they're going to do for me?
No damn thing.
I mean, it's like I have nobody has my back here. I feel like nobody, not even the police department. Frank Rivero finally stepped up, and he's got my back now. I feel a little bit better now.
He's watching this very carefully.
Yes, and I appreciate that more than you know, because really, from the beginning of my son's case to now, I feel like I've just been like picked on for some reason. Like, what did we do? We've never done anything, but be tax-paying citizens, hard-working citizens, raising our kids here. They all stayed out of trouble. They contributed to the community, and why? I don't understand it. And people like Mr. Brown is put up on a pedestal, who goes around and bullies people out of their property.
There was a bunch of people on that one post on Facebook that were saying that he's bullied them and started problems with them. And
Yeah, I'm actually collecting a bunch of evidence on that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, Joan Moss has been given a lot of stuff, and she's going to
Good.
hand over to this.
Because I thought that was going to happen, and that's why I told him, I'm putting this on Facebook, mister, and it'll be on before you get to the corner.
That's what I
Yeah,
heard
it was.
too.
Oh, because people were trying to bash him on Facebook.
I went to
and
work the next day and
I
people were
couldn't
already
stand
talking
there. I was
about
like,
it.
well,
and I
they're
got
my
hell,
neighbors.
Like, I was like, and
They
everyone
didn't
was
deserve
talking
any
about
of
it. And I
that.
got
They
real
don't
No.
do nothing. You
I
know,
got
they're
real
nice.
mad. I was
We
like,
just
check
got
this out.
back
I
from
seen
my
what
son's
happened
wedding.
there. So whatever
I mean, we
they're
were
saying
just
around
like-
that's going around town is
was
bullshit. I
fun,
know what happened.
you know?
So I told him what happened, and that's what happened.
Town's little
Yeah.
and word spreads. But
And I'm already suffering every day my son's in that prison. So, I asked him, what do you want from me? A kidney? I mean, really, what do you want?
Well, I think the next thing is to call a major bonds company like Aladdin Bondsman. They've got multiple
Right.
bonding places, and just question what is the legality of having an annual fee on a bond that's already should have been paid back at this point.
Right. It's good.
Right.
We need to get to the bottom of that.
Yes. Well, I remember my mom, when we started getting this notice back a year ago.
And again,
right
I want to clarify something. When you say receive this notice, you're referring to your mother's property next door to you, not this property itself, correct?
We got a notice from Rob Brown Bail Bonds that it was handwritten. Well, you know, handwritten, like what we owed. This much interest, this much interest,
Well-
and it was stapled onto our original paper that my mom signed that said all premiums are due and payable. And believe me, I looked that paper over trying to find the rate of interest, when they're due, what I'm supposed
Did
to.
it have a schedule of premiums listed?
It had nothing like
Did
that.
it
All
on
have
have
it-
those papers? Jill?
Susan Feeney has.
Did it have a lump sum amount due and payable on it?
When he sent me that bill, yeah, and it was $22,000.
On a $100,000 bond?
Yes,
And you're absolutely sure it was $100,000?
I'm absolutely sure because they tried to raise Chris's bail 3 times, and the
Right.
judges wouldn't let him do it. It stayed at 100,000.
Right, the prosecutors wanted the,
They wanted 750
right, okay.
on a kid who has no
So,
record.
why, without repeating myself, it's very important for you to get a copy of those papers from your attorney and have your attorney yourself sit down and review it to ascertain exactly what the premium was and what the terms were, so you make sure that he is wrong in what he's asking for.
Right, right.
Now,
Right.
you paid, okay, and on the assumption it was a $100,000 bond, and a normal premium would be $10,000. You paid him $10,000.
Yes, I did. And
So, what would the interest be accrued for?
yeah, that's what
There
I'd
is
like
no
to know.
interest. You
Yeah.
paid him cash.
Yeah,
10% of the bond is what is right.
yeah,
There is no interest.
right. I know. So what? Why was I getting this bill for $22,000?
Right, that's why the paperwork and the contract is so important to look at.
You know, and then I start getting these notices saying we're going to take your house. I'm like, not my house. I'm not in foreclosure because it said you were in foreclosure in default.
Who said that?
This trustee court. Let me go see if I can find one of those. I might have one. I
Sounds
gave
like-
most of them to Susan Feeney, and we
Right.
were getting them by the tons. Let me see if I can find
Freaking scam. I can't even believe these guys.
Oh yeah,
trying to
it's a
pull this
total
off.
scam. You could totally.
Unbelievable.
I knew it was from the beginning. I was like, dude, this guy is fucking crazy.
Have you read all the things on Facebook
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like that?
They've probably
We
been
have
all
a
over.
Facebook page called Lake County Magazine, and we've been just kind of putting out teasers because we wanted to get the official statement from you guys and everybody else. But we're going to post this video.
Oh
on
man, it was
the
on.
website
This one
today.
girl posted this thing and everyone was sharing it and everybody was trying to bash him and stuff. So I wanted to defend him. You know, everybody was like saying all their little pieces. It's like, well, I'm their neighbor. You know, I might be young and I was watching it. I was expecting to see people fight. You know, like. And I know it doesn't sound that good, but when you're gonna. If somebody's gonna fight, you're gonna want to
No,
watch
it's good
it.
to be a witness. Absolutely. Should have had your cell phone.
Bob's a good neighbor. You know, he's hella cool. I wave him all the
Right.
time.
I mean,
I
we
know a
don't
lot
have-
of people that know him too. You know. And,
I did find one.
you know, someone like that that's
I
board of
found one.
supervisors
Tell
should
me
not
why.
be coming.
Yeah,
over
because
to
he was
punch
sending them
someone in
to
our
like
face, you
me,
know?
my mom,
Who
my
knows
dad, Christopher.
I don't know, dude.
Oh, this is what was stuck on my mom's gate.
over there.
Yes, and it got ripped. I'm sorry,
That's all right.
but
Okay, are you familiar with any deed of trust dated January 7th, 2009?
that was right after Chris was arrested. We bailed him right about that time.
Okay, MTC Financial is the trustee
Yeah, and
that
here's
was
the-
responsible for the foreclosure.
Yeah, and here's the paperwork from them. But that was stuck on my mom's gate.
Okay. On your mom's gate,
Yes.
not this address.
Right, I tore it off of the gate right up there.
The amount due. You're saying the liens on that property were just under $30,000.
Then how could he take both houses for $30,000? That's another bunch of baloney.
Well,
I'm sorry it's ripped, but I think you
alright.
get the gist of it, you know. I mean, that was stuck to her fence, and it was stuck with tape. That's what, really hard tape. That's why it was ripped. I had to rip it to get it off of it.
Right.
It was like some kind of like shipping tape or something, you know.
oh, hang on.
Ooh, did we find something interesting?
Yeah.
Here, let me find you another chair. Oh my god. Here, let me sit on this. fishy about this. Do you need them for any more?
No, if you guys
Okay,
are,
if you guys are
unless you had
done,
anything else you wanted to add.
thanks
you're
so
fine.
much.
That was wonderful.
You don't
I'm
even
sorry
know.
if it sounded a little weird. It
No,
gets
it's
kind of
No,
nervous
thank
when
you both very,
No,
very
y'all
much.
did a great job. Thank you.
Thank
Really
you for
appreciate
coming
it.
over.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Really
Thank you very
means a
much.
lot to me,
Appreciate it.
Cody, thanks. Hey, if you need anything, Stephen, if anything at all,
Okay.
come ask, okay? All right? Don't be strangers either. Okay, thanks a lot, kids. It meant a lot.
When was your son sentenced?
Oh man, it was January
Is it
of
done?
2011. Can't remember exactly
That's good
when.
enough.
Wait. Damn it, I'm trying to
It's
remember
all right.
now.
It was 2011.
Yes, oh, it definitely was 2011. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, you need to get hold of the contracts between Mr. Brown and yourself ASAP. And you need to have your attorney look at them and review them and give you point the exact obligations you had in that contract.
Okay.
This house was not, now we're going to
This
repeat, according to this paperwork, this house, this address was foreclosed on, not by Bank of the West. I don't even think they sold the mortgage. This was foreclosed on due to a deed of trust that was failed to be
Oh,
paid.
did you leave something?
I think my keys. Yeah, right there.
Where they at? Oh, right here?
Right there on the ground, right there by that seat, right there, underneath the seat.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, buddy, thanks.
Without these.
Yeah.
You guys have a good day.
Okay, thanks,
Take
Stephen.
care, babe.
American Contractors Indemnity Company is the beneficiary. That's the underwriting firm of Mr. Brown for bail bonds.
Right, okay.
So this is telling me this house did not go into foreclosure.
No.
Deed of trust was leaned against this property as collateral for your son's bond. This is saying that the obligation on that bond of
22,000.
no, I'll say it exactly. Of $29,347.23 estimated had not been paid. Since you were in default of that deed of trust, the indemnity company foreclosed on you to satisfy their obligation. Which does not make, again, I repeat myself, I'm
He
not an
should have got that
attorney.
money back from the county or the state that was paid out on bond when the guy went to
hang on,
jail.
No. If California is similar to Arizona, the indemnity company has absolutely nothing to do with the contract between the client and the bail bondsman. You paid Mr. Brown, and repeating what we talked about, $10,000 premium
$10,000. Yeah.
on a $100,000 bond.
Yes.
The balance of $90,000 was collateralized by real estate.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
As soon as your son was sentenced, that bond is terminated.
Right.
The
Okay.
collateral should be released based on the fact that you paid that $10,000 premium. The only exception would be is if that contract stipulated it was an annual premium. And if that's the case, and you did owe 20-odd thousand plus interest, then Mr. Brown is within his rights.
But who does that?
It doesn't matter. We're speaking strictly what I'm reading here. So I'm going to go back one more time and state you need to go look at that contract. What I will do for you is I will contact the state regulatory body, and I will contact another bail bonds company to find out if multiple premiums are legal, and if so, under what conditions.
But here's the deal. $30,000 is all that he's owed. So one house is worth $30,000. He doesn't have the right to take them
Yes,
both.
he does.
How?
Because he had a deed of trust. Doesn't matter if you have $100,000 equity and the deed of trust is $10,000. If that note deed of trust fails to be honored, you have a right to that property.
No matter what the value
Yes,
of it.
let me give you an example. I could go downtown to Phoenix at a tax deed auction, buy a tax deed of $5,000 on a property that's worth $300,000 that's free and clear. If that owner does not pay me back my initial investment plus state required interest at 18%, in 3 years I can foreclose on that property and my $5,000 investment becomes a $300,000 return.
What
Same
happens to
situation
Bank of the
here.
West?
Bank of the West gets paid off. He assumes the lien on the Bank of the West.
Where did I hear it? It's in my pocket. Excuse me. Oh, I can't take this. I can't talk right now. Can I call you back? Yeah, but no, I'll call you back. Yeah, she's here now.
Oh, it's Jerry.
She already did. Okay.
You guys done?
Okay.
Almost.
Okay, bye.
So I
So-
suggest we get together with Bob over the weekend to get his statement. Because we need his statement too, as a person who is the victim.
Now, no, there's separate issues here. Please, be relentless in talking to your attorney
Oh, I
and get
will.
the copy of the contract. That is going to make or break your situation with this particular house.
I do remember seeing all premiums are due and payable, but there was
Due and payable
never.
when?
Yeah, there was. I kept looking at it, and I'm a good reader. I'm not one of those that can't read. I read, and I didn't see. I'm going. Well, it's due, but when and where and how much? It doesn't stipulate
Okay,
that.
If it does not, again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. Okay, I'm not saying I'm right in what I'm interpreting, but I'm pretty comfortable in what I'm stating. If a contract is not clear and not precise into the terms, it goes both ways to both parties. If he does not have a due payable dates on it, if he does not give you the necessary time to honor your obligation, et cetera, then the courts will look at that and say, well, wait a minute, it's a two-way street here. She does not have a guaranteed payable date. There's no arbitration period. There's none of this. There's none of that. Therefore, this foreclosure could be illegal. Okay? And I'm making a lot of assumptions here.
No, I know you are.
So the one issue is the contract that you signed on behalf of your son.
Yeah.
That's mandatory to look at.
Susan has that.
However, that's the issue regarding the house. That is not the issue in regard to criminal trespassing,
Right.
assault,
Right.
animal abuse.
Yes.
We have a witness right on tape at
Yeah.
animal abuse.
And
Yes.
that's the clip we're going to put on tonight on the Lake County Magazine.
So that's
page.
that's a witness
'Cause
stating animal abuse.
That's an objective.
That'll fire people up.
You bet
too.
your ass it will. That's an objective account of what happened without you guys being
Yeah.
involved.
My poor
So-
Shiloh.
Is it possible to get copies of some of these documents?
You bet.
Yeah, we do need to get them copied. We have to.
Let me
be
go
able to
see if I got
analyze
enough
it.
paper to copy that
And
off
let
for you.
let Ron
Want
Green
that?
get
Just
involved,
this one?
Pam. I would
And-
just get him on the case right now.
Who?
Get Ron Green in.
Yeah, he's involved already.
Yeah. He's got to get involved in it.
He said
Okay.
the same thing you're saying. Get in touch with Susan Feeney.
Yep.
And I've already done that.
Yeah.
So, I'll write her another email
Tell me
tonight.
about this condition you have, because I have started getting a stress-related issue where I get these hives that itch really bad. I have them on my leg, I have them on my arm.
Well, this is called von Willebrand's disease. It's a blood disorder.
Oh,
my
wow.
blood won't coagulate,
Oh boy.
and I bruise just if you blow on me too hard.
Oh
and
boy.
when I
Yeah,
get
this is
stressed,
different
I get these my corpuscles for some maybe my blood pressure goes up, and
And
it
breaks the
it
blood
pops my
vessels,
yeah.
If I
Yeah.
could get a copy of the front page of that,
Okay.
because I don't want to waste your
Both sides
paper.
of this.
Yep,
And,
and
I want
then
the ordinance that he
just-
states in there too. The back copy on there is
Hang
the
on.
actual.
I need a copy of this.
Okay. Both pages.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
And that.
Okay. And just the front page.
And you don't
right?
need this
These
one?
are just.
I
These
just
are,
yeah, a copy of that also.
Oh, okay.
That's the lower.
Okay. So
And
okay.
do you know when you received this? When your mother received that notice? Because it said it was sent certified mail on March 6th.
That's probably correct.
And when it,
Yeah, that's probably correct. My mom left here at the end of May. She left for my.
Because that's your address.
Yeah, and I don't know. You know,
And
that's
they-
yeah.
This could have been stopped if someone had addressed this issue at the time you received this.
I didn't even know that my house was part of the collateral. My mom was going to put hers up. I didn't even know my house was part
But
of the
this house
collateral.
was in your mom's name, right?
Yeah.
And that's why she signed the collateral agreement.
Well, yeah. Well, she thought she was signing it for that house. She didn't know she was
She-
signing it for this house. She didn't.
We need to look at those documents,
Okay.
big time.
Yeah.
There's been some real sneaky stuff going
Yeah.
on.
There sure has.
There has to be full disclosure on both parties' part.
Yeah. Yeah. She didn't know. She, you know. Okay. Give me 1 second. I hope I have enough computer paper. I'll be right back.
This is
Oh,